Well, hello there. Welcome to another episode of Ordinary Guys Bourbon. Today on the program, a very special guest, a person who's anything but ordinary. Wait a minute. No. You know, Ordinary Guys Bourbon has always been, I think, on the forefront of embracing technology. And so to keep with the marketing buzzword of today, we've got Bree, our AI-generated guest on the program. Hi, Bree. How are you?
Well, hello there. Thanks for having me on the show. This should be interesting.
I'm not sure how dialogue's supposed to happen with an AI creature that I created, but nonetheless, today on the program, we're going to talk about early times, bottled and bond, Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. But before we do, yesterday, we watched the Lions lose again, and it's been real tough to be a Detroit sports fan. I've often said that there's only one Detroit sports team that's good at any given time. And I've never actually done the research to back that up, but maybe inspired in part by our AI guest today, I did that research and I looked back over the last 47 years of Detroit sports, and it was humbling. 100% true though. Never have two Detroit sports teams been very good at the same time. Since 1978, there have been 188 opportunities for major Detroit sports teams to win championships. Maybe only 187 if you remove the 2004 canceled NHL season. During that time, Detroit major sports teams have brought in a total of 8 championships, the last one being about 17 and a half years ago when the Red Wings won the 2008 Stanley Cup. So let's talk about these teams, and I've got a little graphic here I'll put on the bottom of the screen. This shows it's a heat map of each team's success, their record. The ones that are with a box around it indicate when they were in the playoffs, and if the number is bold, they actually went on to win. But let's talk about each sports team. The Detroit Lions. Lions have not won an NFL championship in my lifetime, and they probably won't ever win. For most of my life, they've been the team most likely to not make 500. They've only had 17 seasons over 500 in the last 47 years. They've had some great running backs, the greatest in NFL history from 1989 to 1998, Barry Sanders, who gave up after 10 seasons without a chance of a championship in sight. They had one of the greatest wide receivers in NFL history from 2007 to 2015 in Calvin Megatron Johnson, who gave up after 9 seasons, during which time they had a record of 54-90. Johnson went on to take third place in season 23 of Dancing with the Stars, though, losing to Canadian race car driver James Hinchcliffe and retired gymnast Lori Hernandez. They'll probably miss out on the playoffs again this year. In fact, now that's confirmed. Yesterday they lost, not being able to match the heartbreak from 2024 when they blew a 17-point halftime lead to the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. The Red Wings. They've won 4 NHL Stanley Cups in my lifetime, making them the greatest Detroit sports team of my life. Sure, the NHL at about $6.8 billion is the smallest revenue of the big leagues. Just over 35% of the size by revenue of the NFL, which has an $18.7 billion revenue stream. By comparison, for all you Caitlin Clark fans, the WNBA has surged dramatically recently, and recently topped the 144 million mark in 2024, making the WNBA about 2% the size of the NHL. Championships for the Red Wings came in 1996, ending a 42-year drought, 1997, 2002, and 2008. They had a historic 25-year streak of making the playoffs from 1990 to 2015, which seems like cheating since that includes the canceled 2004 season. And now they have the second longest active drought in the league, currently at 9 seasons, lagging behind only the Buffalo Sabres for not making the playoffs. The Red Wings, though, have had some great years, from the Russian 5 era with Fedorov, Larionov, Kozlov, Fatizov, Konstantinov, to the powerhouse years of Hasek, Hull, Lidstrom, Shanahan, and Yzerman, to the dominance of Datsyuk and Zetterberg. They've been fun to watch. I mean, not so much lately, but with so much history, Fight Night at the Joe, with Vernon versus Roy, Osgood versus Roy the following year, Fedorov's 5-goal game against the Capitals, the Bruise brothers, Probert and Kosher. Literally anytime McCarty was on the ice, we'll see if this Yzer plan, which I hate even saying, finally starts turning the corner in this rebuild, which it seems like it might. They're currently in first place in their division. I think they're 5th place overall in the overall league. The Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers have won 1 MLB championship in my lifetime, 1984, when they defeated the San Diego Padres in 5 games. It was their best season in franchise history, winning 104 games under the great Sparky Anderson. Guillermo Willie Hernandez, Villanueva, won the Cy Young Award and was the AL's MVP, outshining ace pitcher Jack Morris and Dan Petrie. The team was stacked from Lance Big Wheel Parrish behind the plate, infield of Dave Bergman, Sweet Lou Whitaker, and Alan Trammell, and outfielders Kirk Gibson and Chet Lemon. Darrell Evans, the big free agent signed before the season, batted DH. Actually had a terrible season. They've had some memorable seasons. Their surprising run to the AL pennant in 2006 under Jim Leyland, Miguel Cabrera's Triple Crown in 2012, and a few splashes of hope with Verlander and Cabrera leading the way in 2011 and 2013. Of course, last year they had the most historic meltdown in Major League Baseball history, giving up a 15.5 game lead over the Cleveland Indians and ultimately lost to the Mariners in the ALDS. But also in 2018, broadcast partners Mario Impemba and Rod Allen got into a physical altercation when Allen reportedly put Impemba in a chokehold before being separated. That might be the highlight. And then last, the Detroit Pistons. The Detroit Pistons have won 3 NBA championships in my lifetime, including back-to-back Bad Boy era championships in '88 and '89. And the surprise 2003 championship over the Kobe Bryant, Shaquille O'Neal, Karl Malone, Gary Payton Lakers. Amazingly, I remember the most about the Bad Boys era, with players like Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, Vinnie Johnson, Bill Laimbeer, Rick Mahorn, and John Sally on the team. They had good nicknames back then. Rodman was the Worm before he turned into a circus sideshow. Vinnie Johnson was the Microwave. They even had James Edwards, whose nickname was officially Buddha. Well, I seem to remember George Blaha stealing another NBA player, Wayne Rollins' nickname of the Tree. Edwards was 7'1". Edwards was also indicted in Arizona for cocaine trafficking in 1987. They also had one more fan favorite, one of few NBA players to play one season in the NBA and have one season win a championship. That's Fennis Marks Dembo. Of course, that era was also tainted by a style and attitude that is widely considered unsportsmanlike today. They had some great years, the Grant Hill years from 94 to 2000. You can largely forget about those because of the terrible teal jerseys. The Pistons' 2003 and 2004 championship was fun, with Big Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Richard Hamilton, and Rasheed Wallace. We won't talk too much about that because the current legal issues that are facing their star player, captain, and undisputed leader, Chauncey Mr. Big Shot Billups. I worry that any comments might not age well. The FBI had arrested Billups about 2 months ago for an investigation about illegal sports betting and, quote, mafia-linked poker operations. Billups also, you might remember, was involved in a sexual assault accusation in 1997. Charges were never filed. Billups and former Celtic Ron Mercer settled the lawsuit with terms that were not made public. And to think Mark Vanderhoff still named his dog after that baller. Detroit sports teams have not been good. It's been heartbreaking to watch the Lions. So much promise. Really love Dan Campbell. Really love what Sheila Hemp is bringing to the team. But like every single season that I can remember as long as I live, they've fallen short yet again. What do you think about that? I didn't think so. Let's get into the bourbon. This is Early Times Bottle and Bond Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. This is a 1 liter bottle and comes in at $23, so pretty darn affordable. Early Times whiskey brand is one of the oldest whiskey brands in the United States, but tracing the roots were surprisingly difficult. Some of the bourbons that were reviewed in the past were difficult to research because the stores were mostly fabricated collections of convenience. Not the case with Early Times. The difficulty with this one is based on the brand being sold a few times and the production location changing frequently. It is believed to have started in 1860 by John Henry Jack Beam at the Beam Distillery straddling Washington and Marion counties in Kentucky. In 1866, Jack opened the Early Times Distilling Company in Nelson County, just a few miles east of Bardstown. Just before Prohibition, but allegedly due to the reduced demand brought on by World War I, distilling stopped in 1918. Shortly thereafter, in 1923, Brown-Forman, which had a license for selling whiskey for medicinal purposes, purchased the distillery for the existing inventory. The distillery would not resume operations under Brown-Forman until the end of Prohibition, at which time the Early Times brand was moved to Jefferson County, close to the Brown-Forman headquarters in Louisville. The Early Times liquid was produced there at the Old Kentucky Distillery, which later was renamed back to the Early Times Distillery, from around 1940 until sometime in the 1980s. In 1945, Early Times first introduced the bottled and bond product, which it continued to produce until 1983. After World War II, distribution of Early Times spread nationwide, and it was offered at several proofs and ages. It was marketed as a Kentucky whiskey and a Kentucky Straight Bourbon whiskey. By 1953, it was recognized as the #1 selling Kentucky bourbon in America. Production was then moved in the 1990s to the LeBrow and Graham Distillery, now home to Woodford Reserve. In some articles, it states that the production moved back to Jefferson County in the early 2000s. But other articles say that the production didn't move until Brown-Forman sold the brand to the Sazerac Company in 2020 or 2021. Production now takes place at the Barton 1792 distillery, right back in Bardstown, and pretty darn close to where it all started 160 years prior. Getting back to this bottled and bond offering, the original version was sold between 1945 and 1983, as I said. In the 2010s, a short-lived bottled and bond expression was created called Early Times 354, but it was quickly withdrawn from the market. In 2017, it was reintroduced by Brown-Forman and sold up until the brand was sold to Sazerac. The screw top offering is a Sazerac product and lists both DSP KY12 for Barton 1792 and DSP KY 354 for Early Times. It's on the 1 liter bottle. The mash bill is 79% corn, 11% rye, and 10% malted barley. And in accordance with the Bottle and Bond Act of 1897, the product is aged a minimum of 4 years. Now here's some other random information that I thought was interesting during the research for this bottle. During Prohibition, doctors were permitted to prescribe up to 1 pint of whiskey every 10 days. The prescription needed to be written on a Form 1403, which was issued only to specific physicians, and the prescriptions were non-refillable. The pint of prescribed whiskey cost about $3, plus another $3 to $4 in prescription fees, making it somewhere between $80 and $100 for a pint in today's dollars. In a 1921 survey by the American Medical Association, the majority of physicians believed whiskey was therapeutic, and I agree. So let's get into this, Bree. This is Early Times, Bottled and Bond. Let's have it. Clearly 100 proof. Clearly 100 proof. I think I've had enough there. Let's get into the scoring. Bree, I mean, you can go first. We start off with Heritage. The maximum score is 20. What do you think?
I would rate the Heritage of Early Times Bottled and Bond Bourbon at a 17 out of 20. This score reflects the brand's long and significant history in American whiskey production. Its adherence to a landmark quality standard, the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897, and its place as a classic, historic Kentucky bourbon.
Yeah, I've got it at a 16 myself. I like the Heritage. It's a little bit difficult to follow as I was doing the research, but certainly it's there, even if it did change hands a couple times. And to know where it started off 160 years ago, the product has changed a couple times. Really, it's been the same product, just different proofs and different bottle sizes, I guess. Taste and drinkability, what do you think?
I don't drink alcohol because, I'm not real. But based on an analysis of expert and user reviews, the Early Times Bottled and Bond Bourbon would generally be rated around 26 out of 40. It is widely considered a great value and a solid, approachable everyday drinker, though some find it lacks the complexity of higher-end options. My score on this really doesn't matter though, and I'm sure your score is better than mine.
Yeah, I think I'm a little under that. You said 26, I'm at a 24, just because I think, it's I don't care for it much. I just don't. Affordability, like I said, this is a 1 liter bottle that I think I paid about $23 for. So certainly that's an affordable liquid. What do you think?
On a scale of 1 to 30, with 1 being the least affordable and 30 being the most affordable, I would rate Early Times Bottled and Bond Bourbon at a 30 out of 30 for affordability. That's right, a perfect score in this category. It is widely considered one of the best values in the bourbon market. Have you been working out?
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm right there as well. 30 out of 30 because this is. You can't beat $23 for a liter. Last is we've got design. Maximum here is 10, Bree.
I would rate the design of the Early Times Bottled and Bond Bourbon label as maybe a 6 out of 10. The design is widely considered to be average, functional, and classic, but generally lacks a unique or premium aesthetic. That makes my final score a 79 out of 100. Not bad. Hey Ken Pluff, see how fast I did the math? Thanks David for having me on the show. Thanks for creating me for this episode. I hope you go back to having normal guests on in Season 3. Man, I can't wait for Season 3 to start. Thanks, everyone. Make sure to hit that like button and smash subscribe. Love you all.
Yeah, you know, this was tough for me, but I agree with you. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, which makes my final score a 76. So, well, there you go. So, technology, we had Bree on the program today. I don't know. I really didn't like that. Not a very good opportunity to have some banter. And as I was starting to edit this, I had to pay in like credits of diamonds. I don't know what the hell that cost me. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. I don't think we'll do this again, but nevertheless, we tried it. So until next time, from Ordinary Guys Bourbon, cheers.